Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing well there. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. You can also watch Tobin and Leroy weekdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. live on the 104.3 WQM YouTube page. You can see my guy Joe Rose there now doing it live every single morning, 6 to 10 a.m. And Hockman and Crowder and Solana, you can check them out. My guy Dan Day and Vlad. All that content goes up there, ladies and gentlemen. So please give that a subscribe, as well as this station, if you don't mind, as I adjust my headset accordingly. I'm going to do my bold predictions this week. Not this episode, because I'm still sifting through. I'm cutting it. Remember, I'm doing 5. I would say like I'm at the 3 are in pen. And then there's like 5 contenders for the last 2 spots. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm like, is this bold enough? Is this too bold? We're trying to, I'm going to try and nail these. I hit some last year. I blew a bunch. So we'll see where that's at. We'll see where that goes. A couple things I wanted to get into here. And one was David Aldridge, longtime NBA reporter. He ranked all of the everybody's post or everybody's off season and what they've done so far. And I haven't done a lot of whining about, where the Heat are in standings or power rankings or win-loss to, like, I think their Vegas over-under is like 38 wins. And I'm like, man. I mean, just based off last year, sometimes I find the Vegas stuff down, but the point of it is to get action. But, sometimes I see these numbers and I'm like, that just seems, too obvious. As long as everybody shows up to work, it should be all right. But David Aldridge ranked everybody's off season. And he started with, I guess, 30 to 20. And the last one that he has is Golden State, because they haven't literally done nothing, which is funny. I mean, it is funny that Jimmy Butler went from the Heat, who typically spent their offseason not doing anything, to now he's on the Warriors, who do nothing. Now, it seems like they got to figure out the Kuminga thing, and then they're going to get, Al Horford and some other guys, but they haven't figured out the Kuminga thing. For a while, it felt like the Kuminga thing was going to be the Heat Kuminga thing, because that's what Kuminga's camp seemed to imply. But that did not happen. So instead, we're here right now with this whole, holding pattern for them. By the way, Barry Jackson, speaking of off-season pieces, he did an asset management rationale, and one of the things got aggregated from this that was talking about one of the moves that was debatable, and it was not trading Jimmy Butler. It was this portion of the thing, and it said that basically the Heat never thought of trading Jimmy Butler before last season, and they never really entertained any trade talks, and they never really thought that they were going to get anything other than 1 first-round pick for him. I think the Heat did okay, all things considered, especially getting Davion Mitchell. You're hopeful Andrew Wiggins turns into something, and then we'll see what Kasparas Yakachonis turns into. I think they did okay on the Jimmy front. Could they have done better? I know there was some Knicks stuff in the past that, you probably was Julius Randle related, and I don't necessarily know how much that wet the Heat's whistle at the time. But there was an interesting thing here that I don't think was a complete surprise. But Barry wrote, a Heat source said that Butler's agent, Bernie Lee, promised Miami that Butler would comport himself well last season and would never complain about not getting a contract extension. That proved to be untrue, leaving the Heat with any bargaining position at the trade deadline. In retrospect, the Heat should have sought assurance directly from Butler last July. That's definitely sure. They definitely probably should have. I mean, but even if you heard it from the horse's mouth, I'm probably sure that he heard you know, this is the thing. You never knew what would have flipped Jimmy. You know, I really do think that I think back to that between the Detroit game and the twist in the ankle against OKC. And I really just think that I don't know if contract requests then resurfaced after Jimmy's awesome game against Detroit because they lost that game. He was pretty pissed about it. And they were like, no. And then he twisted his ankle maybe enough that he could have come back, but was like, I'm not putting my body on the line anymore. I'm done. And I think it could have flipped just like that. So I don't know if Bernie Lee was lying. There were certainly some theatrics on Twitter last year with Bernie Lee. There's no doubt about that, especially with the whole Shams thing. I mean, that seemed like a complete dog and pony show. But I'm sure at one point Jimmy was like, yeah, I'm just going to go. I'm going to ball out. I'm going to earn my money. And then Jimmy suffered an injury, which he usually does in the first half of the season, and then was like, I'm not, losing another year guaranteed at 60s. It's just too much. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money with the money getting around, and you're at an age where you don't know if you're going to get that payday again. Anyway, who wants to harp on this stuff anymore? Anyway, David Aldridge ranking the offseason. He had the Heat, I thought, surprisingly low, and I don't think I'm being a homer when I say this. He has the Heat at 23. Now, he says he does his rankings based on how he also likes the roster and what he thinks. But I still thought, man, out of all the moves, the Heat getting Norman Powell for a bag of donuts, sorry, Kevin Love, pretty friggin' good move. I know we were all upset over the weekend about the Haywood Highsmith thing. And I'm not saying that you can't be, because nobody likes to see their team just shed salary for salary's sake and make their team worse. But all in all, that's a pretty headlining move. Even when you open up the piece, it's there with Powell's face on it. I'm just like, 23rd? It seems kind of low. And then I'm looking at the other teams that are there, and I'm looking at he's got the Sixers higher, and I'm like, why? Because they drafted somebody high because all of their terrible contracts put them at that position. I didn't really get that. The Bucks at 14, they kicked Damian Lillard to the curb and signed Miles Turner, which basically means that Miles Turner's salary is $50 million a year for a Giannis Band-Aid, when it feels like he could hightail it out of there at any time. Then he's got Washington and Utah. I'm like, why? Because I know he's a DC guy, right? So maybe, I don't know, he's just liking the direction of the organization for once. Utah, because they got a high pick. I don't know. It all seems to me like it was. I'm not, saying the Heat had the best offseason in the league, but when you put them bottom third, you're saying they were amongst the worst offseasons. I'm like, that definitely wasn't the case. The Heat didn't have one of the worst off seasons. I thought that was a little odd from David Aldridge to rank it like that. So, whatever. I just thought it was a strange deal. He put on the Heat. I'll read you what he wrote. He put Phoenix was 25, the Lakers were 24 for losing Dorian Finney-Smith. They of course also got sold. But on the Heat, added Norman Powell, Drew Smith, Vladislav Golden, Simone Fontecchio, Myron Gardner, Steve Settle, drafted Kasparas Yakachonis, lost Duncan Robinson, Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and Haywood Highsmith. Retained Davion Mitchell at a really good deal. That was another thing. Davion, 2 years, 12 a year. That's a really solid value deal. And he says, the skinny. Powell is solid, slightly under the radar vet pickup who in the right relatively low cost for now and in the near future. The Heat had to do something. Miami couldn't run it back with the previous core that finished 8 games below 500, totally fair, and got swept by Cleveland. Yakachonis fell to 20 for some reason. He'll contribute right away. I don't know about that. So should Fontecchio. But Miami doesn't have many more assets to try and take the kind of huge offseason swings that we've associated with Pat Riley's stewardship, which is okay, but what does that have to do with their offseason? I understand they still owe a pick to Charlotte. They did pay off the OKC pick. I just don't understand what you're docking them because of trades they can't make. what about the trade they did make? The trade they did make was better than a lot of the teams that you had above them. Like, he has the Brooklyn Nets above them for adding Michael Porter, I guess picking up a lot of picks. I don't know. I just I thought that was a little bit odd. It seemed low to me. I think I feel like if you had the Heat like I'm not going to quibble about this, but like I feel like the Heat should be somewhere like in the middle of the pack with all this stuff. But I mean, like, how many moves were better than getting Norman Powell this year in the offseason? I'm trying to think. You had, maybe I'm missing somebody big, but I'm trying to think. You had Boston traded away Drew Holiday. They got Anthony Simons, who they're trying to trade. Orlando added Desmond Bane, but they had to give up a haul for him. So, I mean, you could like the fact if you're going to just go on, hey, you're adding this to their roster, you like their roster. Okay, I mean, I'll live with that. But, I mean, they did have to give up a lot more for their guy than the Heat did for theirs. And, like, Norman Powell, Desmond Bane, like, is there a vast gap between those guys? I don't think so. Maybe on age. That's about it. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, remember, this was supposed to be the craziest offseason, too. It wasn't the craziest offseason. So, thanks a lot, Shams. Stupid. Anyway, that's enough quibbling about David Aldridge. I did officially put together my power ranking. I have put together a Heat roster power ranking. So, this is how it's going to go. I did not count two-way guys. So I did not put like Gardner or Vladislav Golden. They don't count, even though Golden may play. But he doesn't count in this list. So I think sitting down, I cemented it. This is the way I'm going with. Okay? I'm going to work my way up. 14, since we're doing rankings. 14, Terry Rozier, because it's very clear the Heat are rats off a ship on him. Drew Smith, because I got to see him health-wise. Then I'm going to put Kasparas Yakachonis, because even if they love Drew Smith, I still feel like your first-round pick. It's got a little bit more juice to it, but those three guards are the bottom of your tilt. Simone Fontecchio I have as the 11th guy on the roster. I just don't know like how much they really are into having him. I think that like it's a thing where he'll get his chances eventually, but I don't I don't think it's like on the front end of the guys that they're going to go. I think they're going to go their guys first. So then they get into their guys. I think Keyshawn Johnson, he's 10 for me with a very big opportunity to move up. Jaime Jaquez Jr. is 9. I think I'm being generous there, but I'm going to give the lean to their former first-round pick ahead of the undrafted guy who, I think is going to get his chances if, like, defenses are giving him fits. They're going to throw him in there and see what he could do. But I'm going to put Jaime above him. Pella's above him at number 8. He's been amazing in the offseason. Seems like he's on the up and up. Does a lot of the defense and not needing the ball in his hands and balls to the wall effort that we saw in the first half of Jaime's rookie year. And I think leans into his strengths. Jaime talked about leaning into strengths as a player, and I think that is, what Pella just does well. He's not. He's never going to be like. He's not an obsessive guy about his shooting right now. He just throws. Like honestly, Heat's version, Swedish T.J. McConnell. That's what Pella Larsson is molding himself into, and it's beautiful. His draft classmate, Kel'el Ware, I have 7th. Some may think this is low, but I think with Spo's comments, it left the door open for a possibility that he's not going to start. We know what the big situation is, so they may want to stagger him and Bam anyway. I think that there's still growth that has to happen, and I think the 6 guys above him are pretty strong, too, so it's not exactly a slap in the face, but I have Kel'el Ware at 7. Kel'el Ware could have a year where he finds himself at damn near 3 by the end of this thing, okay? Ceiling is very, very high for Kel'el, but this is where I'm setting the floor at for right now. 6, I have Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell's my number one guy out of the starting lineup. I'm not having him as a starter. I'm projecting him to be the number one guard off the bench. I think everybody kind of agrees with that. And these are my starting five as of right now. Nikola Jovic, he's fifth. That's kind of that. I'm leaning towards he's going to win the job just based on the Heat's power rotation right now. These things are fluid. They could flip during the year, but I kind of feel like they're going to go that way. And I do think that Nico is going to be in a better spot to just be a guy who can hit open shots. He's doing a lot of that with Serbia this year. And I also think based on the creation that he could have, I think there's more of a chance with no Jimmy Butler in this starting lineup. I think there's more of a chance for him to have the ball in his hands. No Terry Rozier. I think that there's more chances. I kind of feel like the starting lineup fits Nico better the more you think about it. Andrew Wiggins is fourth. He's going to start for sure. Credentialed, solid, rock solid as they come. And so that's why he gets that piece for me. I know some people will say, no, Andrew Wiggins needs to be lower. You would put Davion, even coming off the bench, you would have above him. I'm just going with the starting five. That's my projected starting five. 3, Norman Powell. Great addition. I'm assuming he's going to be one of the Heat's top scorers. And I think he's going to be a nice compliment to Bam and to Tyler Hero. Tyler, I have as number 2. He's their all-star. He's probably going to be their leading scorer again. But, of course, he doesn't do all the other things that Bam does, which is kind of anchor everything down, which is why Bam, as your max player, I have as the number 1 in the Heat player power rankings, which is this is preseason, okay? If you have quibbles with it, I will take those quibbles in the comments. I will take them in the X mentions or the Instagram DMs. I will take those under advisement, but I know that I also reserve the right to tell you to kick rocks.